The Pardoner's Tale continues Chaucer's efforts to tell every kind of story he knows and likes, to make the Canterbury Tales a comprehensive collection of every kind of story, his encyclopedic drive to different kinds of narrative that he enjoys. Here, it's a kind of spooky suspense story, like three drunken rioters, partiers. They're drunks, they're partiers, they're hazardors, they're gamblers, they're up all night drinking, cursing, threatening each other, drinking and eating to excess, gluttony, considered one of the seven deadly sins. They're doing these things and they hear a bell ringing. It turns out to be a funeral bell for one of their friends. The proper Christian interpretation here, if you're up past midnight drinking, gambling, cursing, and committing other assorted sins, and you hear a funeral bell, that's meant to be the sign to stop the drinking, gambling, cursing, and other assorted sins and get yourself right before it's your turn. It is not a signal to go try to kill death. Guess how that's going to go. You know how it's going to end. As typical for Chaucer, the prologue is even more original than the tale. All the tales fall into kind of recognizable tale types. These tellers are very individual characters. They're themselves types, they're stereotypes, but Chaucer brings them up to a level of kind of entertainment value and even psychological complexity. We begin with the pardoner telling his fellow pilgrims how he cheats people as he preaches. As he goes around preaching his sermons, selling his indulgences, the pardoner's been given permission to forgive people their sins, and he's selling that for a fee. Again, you're supposed to get your sins forgiven by repenting, atoning, being a better person, not by dealing with this con man, and selling his fake relics. He is selling like sheep bones and whatever that he's claiming are miraculous relics. He's a criminal and a hypocrite, and he tells us himself, and he tells his fellow pilgrims that he is a hypocrite in life. It's like his brilliantly, and he says it twice. The theme of all his sermons is money is the root of all evil, or love of money, cupiditas. Greed is the root of all evil. Yes, I preach against greed, and I make all kinds of money that way. I make so much money preaching against greed. I get money from poor people who don't have anything to feed their own children. They still pay me, and I sell them these sheep bones and other crap that I tell them can do miracles. Yeah, I'm good, baby. This is an amazing bit of hypocrisy, and it's part of Chaucer's larger theme of, mocking and satirizing the real corruption in the Catholic Church of his day. He's not anti-Catholic, he's anti-corruption in his church. He doesn't want to break away from the church. He just wants the clergy to behave better. At that moment, the Catholic Church in England was corrupt simply because there was so much money to be corrupted by. Cupiditas radix malorum est. There's a lot of money. If love of money is the root of all evil, the church at this moment owned 1/3 of all the farmland and all the wealth in England. That's a lot of roots for a lot of evil. As we move forward, we will move into an England that's had the Protestant Reformation, and the Catholic Church will be sometimes actually officially outlawed. Here, Chaucer's like mocking, okay, here's a pardoner, he's part of these corrupt church practices, he's corrupt himself. What's remarkable about the pardoner is that he tells his fellows, he's admitting it. Yeah, in a strange way, he seems to want to be caught. He is confessing his sins in a way that doesn't imply forgiveness. He is, in some compulsive way, confessing his crimes, and then remarkably at the end of his tale attempting to run his game on the other pilgrims, but he's already told them it's a game. It's remarkable. It is a remarkable act of self-destruction, and it's one of the most rational of the other pilgrims. Mine host, Harry Bailey, based on a historical person, an actual tavern keeper in Southwark in London, where the real place, the Tavern Inn, where our fictional pilgrimage begins. The host, he talks about cutting off the pardoner's cullions, his testicles, he's gotten under the house collar, because this is remarkable. How dare you? You're telling me you're a con man, and then you try to cheat me with the game you just explained to me? What is up with you? The question is for us, what is up with you? What is human about the partner that he would do this ridiculous thing? It's also telling, note how the partner tells his tale is in keeping. You notice about the first half of the tale is full of heavy morality about how terrible it is to drink. And we're going to bring in all of these classical and biblical examples about why drinking is terrible, about why gluttony is terrible, about why gambling is terrible, and now how it leads to blasphemy, etc., and to violence. All this stuff about how we're against sin. Though this is what the partner does. He weaponizes Christian morality for other very secular, not at all holy purposes. All of this moralizing is just an excuse to tell a kind of spooky crime story, right? It's kind of like those old 20s and 30s gangster movies that pretended up front that they were warning us about the dangers of organized crime in our streets. We just all wanted to see Jimmy Cagney shoot him up, right? The partner's like, oh, let me tell you about all these terrible things, but he wants us to just enjoy, and he wants to enjoy his spooky story. But they went to kill death, and then they found this money, and that's the partner in a nutshell.